Good evening, everybody. It is 5 o'clock. The Thursday before deadline day. Tomorrow is the big day. But this is big news, and let's get it right now. Let's head straight to Old Trafford and join my colleague, James Cooper. James, good evening. What have you got?
Bruno Fernandes, Jim, is a Manchester United player. That deal has been completed in the last few seconds. It's a 5.5-year deal with the option of an extra year. So 25-year-old Bruno Fernandes, former captain of Sporting Lisbon, has finally joined Manchester United. We know, of course, that he left his hotel this morning, made his way to Carrington. The medical, I think, was a formality. I suggested it would be. I think it's proved to be. Took him most of the day to do that, went through some club media, some photos. A photo was then also leaked by one of his advisors showing him looking delighted in a Manchester United tracksuit with a very smart haircut as well. And what it means is Manchester United will now register the player well in time ahead of that deadline tomorrow lunchtime, so that he can be available for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the game against Wolves here on Saturday evening. I think one thing is for sure, at the moment, he's not integrated in terms of playing with the squad. I think he'll have a training session at Carrington tomorrow. We're hoping to speak to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course, in the morning about Bruno Fernandes and other plans for the transfer window. But I think also then the Manchester United manager will get a better idea about the player's fitness, whether he can pitch him in at Manchester United in the first team on Saturday afternoon, or it's something he has to be introduced to maybe on the bench. Certainly fitness-wise, I don't think there's any great conjecture there. He's fit enough to play for United. But I think first and foremost, Manchester United fans were looking for a signing. Ed Woodward, the executive vice chairman of Manchester United, who had a torrid and difficult week, has delivered a signing that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hopes will be the basis of a new overhaul for Manchester United. We saw three big signings come in the summer. This, another piece of the jigsaw, and I think United will be looking to do big business again in the summer to try and complete that jigsaw and give Manchester United the sort of players, the sort of roles and the sort of danger to become maybe a threat both at home and abroad. But certainly positive news for Manchester United. A 5.5-year deal for Bruno Fernandes with the option of another year. One question now needs to be answered. Will he play on Saturday? Will he start on Saturday? And what number will he be wearing for Manchester United?
Wow, a 5.5-year deal, James. That is a big deal. And it is big news. We're not going to let you go at that, though. What about any extra signings for United between now and tomorrow night's 11 o'clock deadline?
Well, I talked about what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would want, and what he wanted, of course, primarily was Bruno Fernandes. He was the number one target for Manchester United. They've extensively scouted him over the past few months. There was a suggestion, of course, in the summer that they might sign him then. I don't think he was seen as perhaps a priority back then. I think certainly getting a centre-back, a right-back and a winger like Daniel James were priorities. I think they thought, well, maybe we can go with Bruno Fernandes after another season and perhaps next summer. I think that's probably been brought forward. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went out to Lisbon to have a look at him and thought he fits the bill. You know, certainly over in Portugal, touted as the best player in Portugal, certainly in the Portuguese league, the great credentials of goal scoring, goal assisting and goal creating. All of those things lined up for a Manchester United player. Certainly to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's view. Doing a deal wasn't quite so easy. Sporting Lisbon wanted a lot of money. Manchester United eventually negotiated what they thought was a good enough deal to get the player. So that's done and dusted. And as I say, not the solution, not the messiah to save Manchester United, but part of the puzzle for Manchester United. In terms of other acquisitions, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would dearly love a striker. I think that might prove to be too difficult a deal to do. I'm sure there will be a few names being plonked on desks in the next sort of 24 hours to try and get Manchester United to twist rather than stick. But I think the difficult thing about that is trying to convince a big player to only come for 6 months and then return to a club. Those sort of players that might make a difference here at Manchester United perhaps aren't about, and then also bringing forward a signing from next summer when I think they will be in the market for a big name striker, again, might prove equally difficult. But one move that has happened today is Marcos Rojo. He's off on loan back home to Estudiantes, where he started his career, the Argentinian returning to Argentina, and no great surprise there. He's kind of dropped down the pecking order when it comes to centre-backs. Of course, Maguire and Lindelof, the two first-choice players in that position. Phil Jones is there as well. Axel Tuanzebe is coming back, and Eric Bailly returned to training properly this week. So he's furnished with plenty of players there, and I think they've decided to give Marcos Rojo some first-team football with Estudiantes, both to benefit the player, but also, who knows, in the future, perhaps to benefit the club. As I said a little bit earlier, I think what most Manchester United fans will be wondering is whether that gleaming, bright, orange Rolls-Royce will be staying in Manchester or making the trip with Rojo to Estudiantes in South America.
James, I think he'll take it with him. Thanks very much indeed. Paul Parker believes his signing of Bruno Fernandes What does it represent for him? It represents a coup for United, as they aren't as attractive as he used to be.
Getting Fernandes is a start. The problem is that now people are going to be looking for that little bit more to add to it, because as good as Fernandes is with his passing and his movement, his running with the ball, his assists, he's going to want maybe people around him as well, look around for people around to help him out and to add to what he's doing. I think they might just need, if you're looking at an out-and-out centre forward. The difference is there, if you're someone overseas and you see London, the opportunity of maybe going to London, you're looking who's regularly in the Champions League, and that makes a big difference now. It's about, are you playing regularly in the biggest club competition in the world at this moment in time? And if you're a team who's on the peripheral of it, then as a top player, you think to yourself, that's not really what you want. You want to be there showcasing yourself in the big competition. So it's become difficult. Manchester United, on that side of it, are not really what they were a few years back of being regulars in the Champions League. And if Liverpool, themselves found difficulty in getting certain players, now they could virtually get who they want, because people want to be involved in what Liverpool are doing. People want to be involved with Jurgen Klopp.
We're crying out for creativity, we're crying out for goals, and Bruno Fernandes gives you that. For me, he does it at Portuguese international level as well, we can't forget that. Yes, he looks quite small and quite slight, but he's a very tenacious player. I think the misconception is that he's a bit of a lightweight. He's not the same sort of player as a David Silva, as a Bernardo Silva, which is really small and really nimble. I just think he's got a lot about him. He's very tenacious, he's not scared to put his foot in. He's shown passion, captaining Sporting Lisbon. So I think it's definitely something we need. Is he going to come in straight away and solve all Manchester United's problems? Of course he's not. Of course he's not. I mean, I actually feel sorry for him coming into a squad that's so disjointed. But, I mean, what do? Not sign players of that ilk because the players around him at the moment might not be up to the level. We've got to start somewhere. We've got to get players of that calibre through the door. We've got to give him time. Anyone moving in the January transfer window is always difficult, especially coming halfway through the season like that into a side like Manchester United that is so indifferent in form. But we've got to give him that time. But unfortunately, Matic's picking up that red card now. He's got to go straight in against Wolves.
The main thing for me is the time it's taken. That's the real worry with this. I mean, we've got 1 day left of the transfer window. If we think we're going to sign anybody, it's highly unlikely from what we've seen. It's took us not only this window, but part of from what we're hearing this summer as well. Taking that long to sign one player is not the best, but it's a start.
I don't understand why we're doing this, transfer window. We're not got players in straight away. We could see that we've sold Herrera and Lukaku, so you think in January you're going to get some big names. We've only just got Bruno Fernandes, so they need a striker 100%.
We're one injury away from throwing in kids at the deep end, and we can't be doing that as a club. We need to start investing in the right areas. Midfield has been an issue for years now. You can't let players like Ander Herrera go and not replace them. Fred's come in, all right, he's done a great job. Scott McTominay has come in from the academy and done a great job. But, would those midfielders get in the top 6 sides in the Premier League or around Europe? We need players of that ilk to get back to where we belong.
And here's the image the United fans were waiting for. Bruno in a Manchester United training shirt, shaking hands with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, Fernandes has given his reaction saying this: "For me to now play for Manchester United feels incredible. I have worked hard to get to this moment, and I can promise the fans that I will give everything for the badge to help us bring more success and trophies." He added, "A massive thank you to Ole and everyone at Manchester United for the trust they have shown in me, and I can't wait to start to repay that on the pitch."
Well, it's happened, hasn't it? United fans will be jubilant tonight. Bruno Fernandes' move to Old Trafford is the second biggest Premier League deal in the January window, the second biggest ever. Aymeric Laporte, there he is. He moved to Manchester City from Athletic Bilbao. He cost £57 million. That was just a couple of years ago. And then last January, Christian Pulisic joined Chelsea for £57.5 million before being loaned back to Borussia Dortmund. Another Dortmund departure was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who joined at Arsenal for £60 million in 2018. So who says there isn't big money spent in January? Fernandes has now moved to Manchester United in a deal that we are told could well rise to just under £68 million. But there it is. Virgil van Dijk remains the most expensive January signing in the Premier League. What did he cost? He cost Liverpool £75 million when he joined from Southampton 2 years ago. More reaction to Fernandes' move then. United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says, "We have been tracking Bruno for many months, and everyone here has been tremendously impressed with all his attributes. And as well as that, what he will bring to this football team. Most importantly," says Ole, "he is a terrific human being with a great personality, and his leadership qualities are clear for all to see." So you never know, is he a possible future captain? He added, "Bruno's goals and assist stats speak for themselves. He will be a fantastic addition to our team, and he'll help us push on in the second part of this season."